Edward did it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 o'clock, 9/17/2024. We'll begin our regular scheduled work session. Turn it over to Ms. Childers.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to welcome Officer Pam Revels to Scottsboro City Schools. Officer Revels is a well-respected, highly regarded, come on up, Officer Revels. She's very well-respected, highly regarded SRO for the Lee County Sheriff's Department. She currently serves as president of the Alabama Association of School Resource Officers, as well as president of the National Association of School Resource Officers. In addition, she has been assigned as an active member to Governor Ivey's SAFE Council. That SAFE Council is called Securing Alabama's Facilities of Education. Their primary role is to provide recommendations to implement measures which help make our schools secure and safe. They also work to identify threats and provide interventions for students who are at risk of committing violence. We thank you so much for being here, and at this time, Mr. Hass, if you'd like to talk a little bit about how we got in touch and how we are here.
Absolutely.
Tonight.
Well, as we all know, a couple of weeks ago, we and of course the entire nation know about the tragic events that occurred at Appalachian High School in Georgia. It brought into sharp focus the importance of school safety, and we've all seen and we've heard from our community about the concerns regarding school safety, and I welcome those concerns because there's nothing more important for us to keep the safety of our kids primary. While I'm an administrator of the system, I'm also a father. I send my 14-year-old son every day over to Mr. Tubbs in the high school, and I expect every day when I drop him off to get him back in pristine condition, or at least as much pristine as a 14-year-old boy can be when I pick him up every day. So as I've listened to these concerns, I knew that we really need someone who could better inform us about safety for our school system. I can tell you guys that I could think of no one better than Lieutenant Rhodes. 13 years ago, when I was beginning my first stint as principal at the junior high school, went down to this funny-sounding conference with a name called TASRO. Myself and our SRO at the time, we went down, and it turned out to be one of the best, if not the best, professional development opportunities I've had in my entire career. Since then, I've attended 4 different times, and luckily enough, I think we send every year at least one administrator and one SRO. And last year, we were able to send all of our SROs through the safety grant that we received from the state. So, again, just excited to have her. As we were listening to the concerns of the community, the first thing I thought of, let's contact Lieutenant Revels and see if we can get her to come up and just talk to us about school safety. And again, she could be doing a lot of different things. You guys heard her credentials. She's an expert. And so, therefore, we appreciate you coming up because we know there's many other things that you could be doing. But this shows the fact that she cares about the students and the kids of Alabama, and specifically Scottsboro. So thankful for having you. Thank you this morning.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me. I am Pamela Revels. And just a quick background, in 2004, my sheriff hired me to be an SRO. And that was without any law enforcement experience. And so he hired me off a COPS grant, and kind of the conversation went, I said, what am I going to do in the schools? And he said, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Because I didn't even have a job, so I didn't know what that was. So fast forward 20 days tomorrow. Tomorrow is my 20th anniversary in this position. And I've loved every minute of it, and I appreciate, that was a very warm welcome that you gave me. Thank you. I think I've just been doing it for so long. When you love something so much, you just really dig into it and you try to learn as much as you can. So after kind of going through some things and talking to your administration here, I know you had some concerns, so I kind of wanted to sort of bring you some current trends, and then you can kind of ask me, what do you think, or go from there, kind of help guide this conversation, because there's a lot that comes from school safety. It's not a gun in a bag in your school. Okay, that's just one component. That's not just doing this one little thing of making sure your exterior doors are shut and locked. There's so many pieces to the puzzle. So I always like to say, when we talk about school safety, you can break it up into 3 different pieces: prevention, intervention, and response. And again, so many pieces to each one of those. And every day what we try to do is the first 2, and that's the prevention intervention, because if we can stop something from happening, that's what we want to do. And it takes a comprehensive approach to do this. So a couple things right now that I talk about as I not only speak in the state of Alabama, but across the nation. There's really 3 top things that you can go into your school tomorrow and make it safer. And it costs you this. It costs you this amount of money. And that is locked interior doors. Time after time after time, incident after incident, that has proven true that locked interior doors, classroom doors, is where our kids are safe. In saying that, when I say locked, that means shut, locked, and secured, not with a magnet. Just this last incident, of course, we haven't got the final report. We're waiting on that, but just by witnesses, they said he literally came to the door, and when he could not get in, he turned around and went another way. Because that's opportunity. He's looking for opportunity. Most of the time when these incidents happen, they're looking for the easiest opportunity. And as we grow, as SROs are put into schools, that reduces opportunity. So they're going to move as quick as they can to find the easiest opportunity. So locked interior doors are very important. Parkland taught us that, you don't even have to enter a room. You can just shoot right from the door, the window. So in my school system, our doors are shut, locked, secure, and the window covered. That is what has been set down from the superintendent. That way somebody can't just walk right up and see right in. Now, we do have a little bit of a luxury because we have cameras within our classrooms, so we can literally see what's happening. And that's a decision everybody has to make. But all the things that we talk about are from things that have happened, and we try to combat them. The second biggest thing right now is what we want to call emergency alert system. Now, this can have a cost, or it can be something that you already have in use. The biggest thing about an emergency alert system is that everyone can initiate it, no matter where they're at, and that it lets everybody know there's a problem. Because again, the sooner you can let somebody know there is something going on their campus, it gives them time. It gives them time to react and get ready for what they may need to do. And every one of these, time was a factor. And the person on the other side had more time than the people we were trying to protect. Even with Parkland, he was seen outside the building. And the person who saw him had an actual walkie-talkie and could have called a lockdown, but never did. Watched him walk in the building, never called a lockdown. We do know that whatever happens, the second floor automatically locked themselves down. Maybe they heard what was going down on the first floor, but when he went up to the second floor, after everything he had done on the bottom floor, there were no injuries or deaths on the second floor. We do know that when he went to the third floor, there were other children who were killed because there was still, at that point, no lockdown called. So emergency alert systems inside the building are very, very important. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do that. And third, again, this one doesn't cost you anything but time, effort, and energy. And that's what we call behavioral threat assessment. This has become standard across the nation because of the things that we've seen. The National Threat Assessment Center, they put out a report If you haven't read it, it is an incredible read because it gives us some important information that we should be really looking for. Number one, they have two primary reports right now, and a third has just recently come out about bystander and being able to make anonymous threats. So the first one is, how do you build your behavioral threat assessment team? And how do they work together? And how should they come together? How do they function? And then the second report talks about, they went back and analyzed 41 reports in the last 10 years, and they talked about what were the commonalities and what are some things that we should be looking for. And that is a tremendous document when, especially someone for me, when I'm saying, how can I do better? And it gives us the roadmap. It's right there. And again, time after time, following this, we have seen averted acts, and we have seen where it has failed, and then we have that act of violence. So there is really good research out there. There's good information, and like I said, that behavioral threat assessment costs you nothing but time, effort, and energy. So those are my three primary things I talk about a lot, because if one of those things is not happening, maybe that's a direction you need to go. But the next kind of section is when you're looking at safety, there's a couple of things you definitely need to consider, right? And that is the human factor. The human factor is one of your greatest or one of your most, one of the pieces that can fail you the most. So making sure that your staff is trained and trained at the latest trends, and that they are performing these policies, procedures. Let's just take drills, for example, that they are practicing these to fidelity. I just shared yesterday in a state training, there's a video going around. Again, I'm not going to say it's verified, but it does show some kids in a room, and the teacher saying, hey, this is not a drill. We are in hard lockdown, okay? Here in Alabama, we don't use that term. We use lockdown, secure your area of responsibility, or heightened awareness. We don't use hard lockdown, soft lockdown, code red, code yellow. It's plain language. To make sure that somebody is not sitting in that classroom saying, is this real, is it not real? When it's lockdown, it's what I tell my staff, it's go baby time. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We got to do and get where we need to go. To include where is that in the room. And some things that I will expand on, some things I will not, just so that I don't share important practices that we may be doing that may compromise that, versus if there is something that we talk about as far as enhancements. I don't want anybody to lose confidence in maybe an enhancement they are actually practicing now. But everything actually comes down to fidelity and how you are doing things. So human factor is probably one of our greatest assets we have on our campus. Number one, when we go back to behavioral threat assessment, I say this all the time, our staff, our teachers, they are truly our first responders. They are seeing behavioral changes in that classroom that may spark that concerning behavior, which the National Threat Assessment says we should be looking for concerning behaviors rather than just waiting for that threat. If we get it, then we move that direction. They see this. They see this. What do they do with it? Do they have a path in which they communicate that information? And from that, once they communicate it, where does it go from there? So human factor is very big. It also goes back to just being responsible, right? A responsible adult on your campus. You're in class change. Am I in my classroom or in my hallways? Am I looking down? Supervision, huge. If you appear to be aware, if you appear to be on point, that reduces opportunity, and that's what you're trying to do every day, is reduce opportunity. Human factor. You also have to consider physical things, such as maintenance. I don't know if you've ever heard of SEPTED. SEPTED is Crime Prevention and Environmental Design. With this, you sort of influence behavior without people really even knowing they're being influenced. And we do that a lot in our schools because we want things to look aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time have a purpose. All right, so when we talk about SEPTED, one of the biggest things is access control. Okay, how are we maintaining the security of our building? And then we have the physical maintenance. Are these things working? Are our doors, are they shutting properly? And if they're not, what is the means in which somebody is to report that? And how quickly are they being addressed? So, then you have territoriality. Territoriality goes back to how do you say, this is my campus. Fencing, I like to call it, you have aggressive vegetation. I don't know if you've ever seen Auburn University, but we have these big old hedges. They're holly bushes. They're pretty tough to get through, okay? So there's that piece of it, the territoriality. Along with some other little pieces of the puzzle. But SEPTED is a really good place to start if you're looking for additional pieces to the puzzle when it comes to human factors. So going along with so many things to think about, then you kind of have to think about, are there enhancements that we want to use? And if we want to use enhancements, what are they? And you go back to if you do an enhancement, are we doing the other piece as good? So are we doing what we need to do over here to fidelity before we add this other piece to it? Because if we're not doing this over here, this is not going to make as much difference as the combination and it working together. So there's just a lot of pieces in the puzzle, which brings me back to who I am and what I do, as an SRO. Again, if I'm a gun in the badge walking down the hallways, kind of missing that integral piece of what we do as a school resource officer. First off, me being from NASRO, we always recommend the NASRO benchmark SRO. Carefully selected, specially trained, and properly equipped. Because we know, time after time again, putting the wrong person in, even with specialized training, you could possibly end up with issues and problems. Change around. You can put the best person in there, but without proper training, you could still have issues. And then, but if you get that SRO, how do they perform? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? Well, we follow what we call the triad. Of course, the bottom is that law enforcement, right? Kind of holds up the triangle because we're there in case they need us. And then to one side, we are public safety educators. We want to go in and provide education not only to our young people, but to our staff. And if we can teach them what it is not to be a crime victim or what it means to do bad stuff, maybe we reduce that. Maybe we keep them out of the criminal justice system. Maybe we keep them from being a crime victim. And then on the other side, we have the mentor and formal counselor. And that's where I love to do my work because you get opportunity to really sit and talk with a young person and find out. Because when I first started, I'm telling you, I knew nothing about law enforcement or being a law enforcement officer in schools. But I'll never forget my first encounter that really changed my whole career. And it taught me what I call the why. And I'm walking down the hallway and I get the teacher way. Now, if you've been in schools for a while, it kind of goes like this. She's standing outside her door and she's kind of giving this young man the up and down, right? Tired of you interrupting my class, da-da-da-da. Well, at the time I didn't know what de-escalation was because we weren't talking about that, but de-escalated it. She went on into the classroom and I talked with the young person just a few more minutes longer. And it ended up as she was about to send me to the board to do a problem, but I didn't know how to do it. So rather than be embarrassed, I'd rather act out to get sent out. That was basically what he was telling me. And so what do we do for him, right? We helped him out with his math, got him a tutor, and then he didn't get kicked out again. I'll never forget that experience because it kind of taught me the why, and that's one of the pillars of my professional career. I have three. I have my personal, which is ethics, integrity, honor, faith, and then I have the other one that I call why. Why are they behaving the way they're behaving? What is the intent behind the behavior? Because that's really big when it comes to law enforcement and criminal response. And then how can we help them? See, our young people, they're going to come back day after day. And if we don't intervene, then what happens to them next, we all see with some of our statistics. So us working together as an administration team and an SRO team, we can figure that out. It can reduce violence. It can reduce truancy. It can reduce, or let's say increase our grades. So many good things that can come out of that. The third pillar that I work off of, and I talk to people about this all the time, and you call me and you ask me something, I will probably repeat this to you. It will be, what did you know, when did you know it, and what did you do about it? Those are the three questions of liability that everyone will be asked if something happens on your campus. And so there's a lot of kind of standards that are out there right now for SROs having that strong MOU and doing your behavioral threat assessments, making sure that some of your security things are done. But those are the three questions that everybody will have to answer. The people at that school, you, me, and sometimes it may be the 12 people sitting to your left and right of you, and it can mean your freedom or even financial. And so that's what we're seeing now. And the trend, if you haven't seen the last two cases where now we're having parents being held accountable because they are taking school safety very seriously. And I know you do too, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today. And I appreciate that. It just shows your community that you care very, very much of their safety, their well-being, and for them just in general. I love doers. I love doers because there's a lot of sayers, but I love doers. So that's kind of my little spiel. If you would like to kind of ask some questions, and then I can kind of finish up. And if there was anything that I may have left out, you can remind me.
I'm good. Thank you.
Is there any resources for after action reports on some of these prior incidents?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Parkland's got an excellent after action. Sandy Hook's got an excellent after action. Uvalde, excellent
Is there like one site that they're listed on? Or?
I will send them to you.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that would be very good material for you to read.
I've got 5 daughters. It's hard to sit here and listen to this right now. I'm not going to lie. As these board members know, with a lack of better words, it pisses me off. It really does. To have a threat made in a community the size of Scottsboro pisses me off. I've got a child in every school except Nelson, which is the primary school. To know that you're busting your tail to make things better for a community, and then you have somebody make a threat of any magnitude, as a dad, it hurts me. When I was in school, it's been 25 years ago now, that's when Columbine happened. We didn't have this. And I'm constantly getting asked, well, what are y'all doing about this? What are you doing? Everybody's learning on the fly. There's no right way to do everything. There's no wrong way to do everything, but every little bit of prevention helps. I keep getting asked about metal detectors. And, you hear about the expense of them. You hear about, well, you got to have somebody manning them. You got to have, you know, they're not a foolproof thing either. I don't know what the expensive one would be. I don't know. Like you said, I mean, you lock every door, that's a step in the right direction. You monitor your cameras, that's a step in the right direction. I really don't even know what I'm trying to say right here. It's just, it burns me up to hear people say that we're not trying to do things, we're not putting forth any effort to do things, because we are. But, you know, you being here right now means the world to me. And that's not as a board member, that's as a concerned parent.
Right.
And I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate that. And you know, it is very tough when you know, and we spoke in, you know, in length of, you know, their current practices and what y'all have going on here. And there was I mean, what we have been putting out as the state, y'all are like right there with us, right? And sometimes you can't say everything we're doing, because then you compromise these practices. And that's the tough part. You want to say and scream from the top of the building, this, but then again, you know, that may compromise later on down the road what we're actually trying to accomplish. And that's not to be where we're not being transparent. I fall into that too. We've had some threats down in Lee County, and that was one of those complaints. They haven't told us anything. Well, at the time, there wasn't really anything to tell, because we were moving through the investigation, and there was no direct threat. And that was put out there. So I share that with you. But I think for our families and our communities to know that your practices here are in line of what is being put out, and they're taking additional steps to ensure that these practices are done to fidelity, is a crucial part. And like I said, me showing a picture the other day at my training, I already received a lot of emails saying, hey, we need to sort of work on this a little bit more. It wasn't y'all. It wasn't y'all. Really, I was approached about, you know, enhancements. You know, what, are they 100%? And nothing is 100%. Nothing is 100%. And we're just in this day and time where it's quite difficult. But, you know, if you decide to use an enhancement, whether it is, I think some of the ones that are the terms being thrown around right now is weapon detection systems. Again, you're right, it takes manpower, and where manpower may be directed here, that means there's openings in other places. And so you really have to, in business they call it a cost benefit. You know, are you going to move over here and shift another issue or problem? So you really have to look at, when I talk about comprehensive, I talk about comprehensive. And that's big. It's not just one thing fixes all. You know, another enhancement people are doing now is the security window film. Well, there is no window film that is bulletproof. Okay, it can slow somebody down, but it's not bulletproof. And so that's another safety measure. It's not 100%. People are using things like canines, where you can have two different types of canines. You can have like a detection canine, where you use it for either maybe drugs, or on the other side, weapons, explosives, firearms. That is a deterrent. All these things you're talking about are deterrents. And then some, like we have some, and they're so good in the schools that they're almost like therapy dogs. Or you can have just a straight therapy dog. And now that's a positive, because it is a tool that if there is a possibility that there may be a weapon on your campus, it can actually locate it. So that's a pretty good well-rounded tool. So again, so many things to think about, but I always go back to your base. Is your base where it needs to be, and then from there you can enhance that. So there's a lot of considerations.
Ms. Revels, I know this might be a silly question, but with with cybersecurity and preventing a lot of these threats, aggressive settings, before they even get to the physical problem. What, I don't know if you can't do it, but are we seeing more of that now? Is it better detection by resource officers and the FBI and the police department? Is that what's forcing even though some of them may be credible and some may not, but you can't take a chance that it's not credible.
That was perfectly put, sir. Yes, there's been an increase in influx of these digital threats, and I believe it's because it's ease. Our young people got very comfortable on putting stuff out there where we could never even imagine done that ourselves at that age. But we didn't have it. And I bring you back to a lot of our young people, and if you go back and look at some of the things that have happened and some of the arrests that have made, I would encourage you to look at the age, because about 11, 12, 13, 14, this thing called puberty kicks in, which is the physical change, but at the same time it kicks in what we call adolescence. Adolescence and puberty are two different things. Adolescence is actually the second time your brain begins to develop or start strengthening your logical piece of your brain. And as it's doing that, our young people work off their feeling brain. So that's why everything is more emotional. That's why things seem a little bit more intense to them. And so it's also when they begin risk-taking and pure acceptance of some of the things that they are putting out there on the internet has really reduced a lot of those things that we would say, oh, we cannot do that. But a lot of that's pure acceptance. So I think there's a lot of factors that come into play with that. But one of the biggest things is ease. It's right there, and for some, there's not any monitoring. And that, again, leads to some things and inappropriateness that is done. And in the adolescent brain, that risk-taking, they really don't understand that, hey, this really is a bad thing. Because the concept of this can hit me as a terroristic threat is really off the charts. But again, us as school resource officers working with our administration, going in and having conversations, doing some education in this direction can really help. I think we really see that out of 20 years, I've never seen anything that happened in the last week and a half. 20 years. And a lot of SROs across the country that I've talked to, there was the same response. Never seen anything like it. So maybe that's where we're at right now. Hopefully we can change the direction with more education. But this is new. This is very, very new. One way we do try to combat the digital type stuff, we have a filtering system, which I think most school systems do. And they don't realize that every keystroke they make is being recorded. Well, when that keyword comes in, we have like a local level and we have a 24-hour. When they started coming in, I asked my IT coach, I said, hey, this is pretty interesting. How are y'all getting this? And he told me. I said, okay. He told me the different levels. I said, oh, I want to be on that 24 hours. Yeah, you laughed. Because 2 weeks later, I'm like, take me off, right? Take me off. But I'll never forget, I'm sitting at dinner, and I get one of those alerts, and it basically said, how do you build a pipe bomb? Okay, so what that has changed for us is acting immediately rather than having to wait till they got to school. So we're able to go out and make contact with home. We need you to bring your child to school tomorrow. We need to have a talk. And then that started our ball rolling down, behavioral threat assessment, safety check at home, looking for communication, all these things the National Threat Assessment Center tells us. So you can use the things that you already have in place. Again, going back, once you get something, once information is given, or somebody perceives they've got something, what is the avenue in which to send it? And Parkland, just 1 or 2 days before, he literally was on a social media platform saying, I'm going to be the next school shooter. That was tipped. That was tipped to the FBI, and it got lost. It got lost. And so that one, and almost, there's been many that have had digital communications, and so we know that is a huge piece, because it's a huge piece of our young people's lives. So that is one of those things that we monitor and watch for as well. So I hope I answered some of your questions. But yes, that is in a trend, and and we have seen instances of violence on our campus that was told to us. It just didn't get to the right people. And even maybe they did get to the right people, but they didn't know how far to take it, or what was the proper steps in which to handle it.
Can I ask you another question?
please, sir.
So this is shit, this silly.
Nothing
here.
silly, sir, I promise you.
And juvenile court person.
Okay, there you go, yes, sir.
But, do we see more, threat assessments and preventing incidents, or do we see more actual physical fights on campus?
After doing the behavioral threat assessment?
Yes.
I don't have any statistics for that, and I'm not going to pretend like I can tell you statistically. What I can tell you, though, is when you do a behavioral threat assessment, it's not to say, I'm going to give you discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to do, is it going to be a criminal charge? When you do a behavioral threat assessment, students says either A, you've got a threat, something, or you've seen some concerning behaviors. What it's really designed to do is, at the outcome, say, this is what we see, this is what we have, now how can we manage this? And then so there's a gamut when it comes to management. And in a lot of ways, that's where, again, there's been a gap. It's the management piece. If, example, you have a third grader slide down, when slide down behind them, the first one, okay, so the second one slides down, hits them, the first one turns around and says, I'm gonna shoot you. Okay? What you're trying to decide, he's made a threat, right? So if we do a behavioral threat assessment, what you're trying to decide, does he pose a threat, or did he make a threat? And see, there's a clear difference. Because as you start working through that behavioral threat assessment, there's another thing called the pathway of violence through the FBI. You don't just automatically tomorrow say, I'm going to do violence on our school campus. There's what we call a pathway to violence. And that's what you're looking for when you do the checks, when you're looking for the communication. You're looking to see how far are they along. And that determines posing a threat versus made a threat. And so it depends on the outcome of that, what you do. Maybe you impose discipline, maybe you don't, maybe there is a criminal element, but it can literally go from that kid that slides down and you determine that he doesn't pose a threat, he made a threat. That can be a call to the parents, wherever your discipline is. All the way to the other side of the spectrum of maybe it is a criminal charge. So that leaves you a wide area for you to put in this maintenance plan, this management plan for that young person, because at that point, now you're intervention. But I'm going to tell you, over the years, we may not have said, we need to do a behavioral threat assessment, but we say, what is the why? And what we find out is, maybe they're not being fed at home. Maybe there's abuse, maybe there's neglect. Maybe there's sexual abuse. So it can lead you down a whole other path where, again, the ultimate goal is to help that person, that young person. So there's many reasons to do it, and it's just not to put somebody in the criminal justice system or make an arrest. It's about intervening in whatever type of obvious crisis that they are in at the time. Mental health is off the charts. I think y'all know this. I'm sure where you're sitting right now, you see. And so that's what you're trying to do, intervene in that crisis that young person is having. And that's kind of what that is.
I have a question. We love this information. It's been so great. We were having a discussion with our administrators yesterday, and, we want to continue to practice those drills that we know are so important. But we also know, I'm with you, 20-plus years, never been here with this. So we want to protect and do the things that we're trained to do. But help us navigate maybe some things you could say to help our principals right now, because we want to complete those drills, but how do we do that when everybody has this heightened, everybody's scared, everybody's unsure. We still need to do those drills that are going, they're important that we do them. So help us what would you suggest?
So in the last year or so, there was an article that was put out about a young person who was at a parade with their grandparents. Well, something happened and the grandparent froze. Who directed that grandparent to safety? That young person. That young person. Because I tell folks all the time, when we train our young people, we're not only training them to survive that room, that school, we're actually training them to survive life. Because they could be at a parade, they could be at a church, they could be at Walmart, they could be anywhere, and they will have to make that decision of the greatest survival for them and whoever's with them in the moment. And that's how we train. We talk about options. What are our options? So when you do this, you don't have to scare them. The kind of the national training is sort of to do a scenario-based drill, to make it more of a teachable moment rather than what I like to call robotic actions. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. This is just one. This is not the way, this is a way. A way. All right, let's say you use your intercom system to do your drill. Just do your drill. We have two different systems. At my school system, we have strategic, which is our emergency alert system. But for our drills, we use our intercom. And that is specifically trained to our staff, so they know the difference. So when we go to do, I'm going to talk about an intruder drill, a lockdown drill, because to me those are the most important, okay? So we look something or sound something like this. Intruder drill, here's your scenario. Now, before we do that, my SRO has already called my dispatch. We've already notified central office, because if something was to happen and that kid does that thing on his phone in that classroom, my dispatch already knows, it goes in the central office. So if they start getting the calls, they can immediately just stop it right there. No, they're having a drill. Or if it's a fire drill, oh, they're outside, something must be happening. No, it is a drill. So that communication flows so many different ways. So in saying that, intruder drill, here's your scenario. You hear loud popping noises outside your classroom, what do? Go. And what you want them to do is start moving in that classroom in the direction that they would respond if it was a real drill, if it was a real lockdown. And we use verbal cues like loud popping noises, because if you go back and you watch some of the newscasts, they don't always say gunshots, they say fireworks, loud banging noise, things like that. So we kind of want to implant that. It may not be, it may be a loud popping noise. So when they hear it, they start moving. I told them, I said, if you're telling me I got 20 minutes, I'm very sorry. It's very hard for me to say within 20 minutes. But you bring this up, and I always like to talk about the Virginia Tech shooting. I heard one of the survivors speak, and it's sort of the first time she'd ever told her story. It was very raw, very emotional. And she says, we heard him coming down the hallway, and he sat there. Now, not because of his footsteps. He got closer, and he just sat there. She said at some point, he came into our room. Now, just imagine, you're the class, there's several rows like this, the door's over there, and somebody walks into the classroom, they walk from the door all the way to the other side of the room. And she said it was just sat there. He began to start firing on us, and we just sat there. I won't ever forget these words she said, because she said, at some point I got down beside my desk and I waited to die. Now, I'm going to tell you, in that moment, sitting there listening to her, I said, Pam, not will one of your students, faculty, staff, a visitor on your campus ever say, I got down and I waited to perish because they were not trained. They were not told what to do. They were not given the time that they needed to respond. So that's the importance of drilling. And to do it with asking them to think prepares them so that in that moment, if you haven't thought about it, what happens is if you're not expecting something to happen, you go into fight, flight, or freeze. And there's a fourth one that they can talk about now, it's called fawn, which you never come out of that one. Freeze, sometimes you can come out of once you identify what's going on. But if you've never thought about it, then you have to process, okay, what's going on, what should I do, and then you have to act. See how much precious time has now lapsed? I'll give you another example. Last year about this time, I walked building 1200 in Parkland. And one part of the story that I did not know is that when he came in, he went to the first classroom, he shot through the window, he never entered one classroom. He left that classroom, he went down to the next, fired into that classroom. Of course, some of our students lost their lives. There were students in the hallway doing a project. Those lost their lives. The critical piece here is A, nobody got the warning. He left that, he went back to the first room. They had time. They had time. But what did they do? Instead of getting out of line of sight, they went and hid behind the teacher's desk that was directly in front of the window. And 2 more young ladies lost their life after they had time to do what they were supposed to do. Drills are so very important. They're important that you do with fidelity. They're important that we understand why we do them and how we do them. Because I tell people all the time, if I mess up, it's not like I'm at Burger King and I messed up your order. It's not like I bought something the wrong size. If I mess up, if I don't do it right, that can mean somebody's life. This is a different business for me. So drills are important. How we are on our campus every day, how we are operating, so very important. So very important. I'm sorry for that long little piece, but it comes back to it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Have any other questions?
I think you covered a lot of it. I can't say you covered it all, but you covered a lot of it, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We sure do appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you in here. I appreciate you. And for your community to know that you're not going to stand and just say whatever, that you are looking and making sure that you're doing the utmost here, I applaud you. Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't have somebody come in and say, have me come in and talk because they don't want to seem like they're not doing anything. Because I'm up here doesn't mean that you're not doing everything perfect. I promise you. So I want to thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I told them that I would stay if you wanted me to, say anything else. If not, I do board meetings too, so it could be a lot of fun.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, ma'am. God bless you. Thank you. Absolutely. Richard. You are going to leave.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started with the superintendent evaluation, got something I'd like to read. I'd like to remind everyone of our procedures for addressing the board. Board Policy 2.5.4 outlines the guidelines for public participation when addressing the board. There's a copy of the policy found on the table in the back. Board members, including the superintendent, are always happy to speak to stakeholders outside of meetings by email, in person, phone, or by text message. If you would like to formally address the board, please contact the superintendent or Ms. Starla Finch, the administrative assistant to the superintendent, to schedule a meeting with Ms. Childers. Thank you.
Do you have a presentation that we need to go to?
The ASB evaluation is a standards base that includes indicators for the 6 types of leadership. Indicators include soft skills, qualities, and traits that support the standards, including communication, conflict, and resolution. The definitions for, and these are the 4 question answer. The answers would be non-demonstrated, would be the superintendent has begun to indicator to date. Progressing, the superintendent is moving forward in the indicator, is continuing and or developing the indicator. Proficient, the superintendent is competent and capable of the indicator. And accomplished, the superintendent is experienced and demonstrates excellence in the indicator. So, we have to do this in an open meeting, so we're going to kind of run through this pretty quick and get on with our meeting. I don't know the exact numbers or percentage, but I do know this for 23-24, the percentage and numbers were up from what they were in 22-23. So, builds positive collaborative working relationship with the board, create a shared vision, accomplished 100%. And we had some comments, of course y'all can read those. Uses multiple source of data to develop goals and objectives for school improvement. 60% proficient, 40% accomplished. Comments on that one too. Facilitates continued development and implementation of system strategic plan aligned to vision and priorities. 60% proficient and 40% accomplished. Establishes clear priorities of system goals and objectives. 20 progressing and 80 proficient. Participates in clear, consistent, open communication with system leaders, principals about policies, practices related to the vision. 80 proficient, 20 accomplished. Develops channels and open communication between the system and all stakeholders about strategic plan goals. 20 progressing, 40 proficient, 40 accomplished. Updates the board of the status of programs, personnel, operations, recommends actions as appropriate. 80 proficient, 20 accomplished. Let me say that proficient and accomplished, that you could rate that as like a 90 and 100, I guess you could say. Informs the board about rules, regulations, state school boards, state federal laws, current education trends, developments. 40 proficient, 60 accomplished. Identifies potential school system changes for improving student learning. proficient 60, and 40 accomplished. Performs duties as CEO as prescribed by board policy laws within the established job description, proficient 80 and accomplished 20. Ms. Starr laid this out, I like this. So it's went through every one, and it's basically the same thing, right? This kind of gives you an overview of them. That's it. That's it? That's it. That's not it?
Okay, sorry.
You're not nearly finished. That's just manager.
Yeah, that's, yeah. So ensures maintenance of property, 20 progressing, 80 proficient. Applies sound business practices managing the system budget, proficient 80, accomplished 20. Uses system resources in efficient ways, progressing 40, proficient 60. Aligns resources to support system vision, 80 proficient, 20 accomplished. Leverages system resources to attain their best use to support learning goals, 100% proficient. Monitors use of system resources to ensure fairness, progressing 20, 60 proficient, and 20 accomplished. Ensures the safety of staff and students, proficient 20, and accomplished 80. Ensures the system has a comprehensive plan for student services, 80 proficient and 20 accomplished. Develops and implements effective policies and programs for students' behavior and discipline, 40 proficient and 60 accomplished. And creates processes to build consensus, communicate, and resolve conflicts in a fair way, 60 proficient and 40 accomplished. Climate and engagement leadership. Collaborates with central office staff, board members, and principals. 40 proficient, 60 accomplished. Uses multiple sources of feedback to create and maintain positive environment and climate. 20% progressing, 40% proficient, and 40% accomplished. Monitors the climate of environment. Y'all can read those numbers. Shares system accomplishments and shortcomings. Builds trust among staff, students, parents, and the community. Professional leadership. Improves professional knowledge and skills. Oh, no. Overall, Ms. Schiller has demonstrated 93% proficiency and accomplishment across all leadership standards and indicators. Like I say, that was up from the previous year evaluation. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I consider it an honor to serve. I appreciate the commendations. I also appreciate the areas to work. I do not take my responsibilities lightly, and especially I do not take those responsibilities after we have just listened to the presentation that we have just listened to. It is a very much needed, very important conversation, and we're dedicated and committed to doing the things that we need to do to ensure our school systems move forward. And I feel like it is one of the professional highlights of my career to serve in the role that I'm in. I thank you for the opportunity.
And I will turn it back over to you this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are ready to begin the agenda items for the October board meeting. We're going to start with the consent items. In your assembly packet, you have board minutes to the August 15th work session. There was also a called board meeting on August 15th. You have board minutes for September 5th. You also have board minutes for September 10th. Before I move to the bank statement, I'll ask if anyone has any questions regarding the board minutes. Okay? That being said, we'll transition over. Ms. Stout, if you don't mind, you're welcome to stand right there at that podium if you don't mind, please, ma'am. So, come on up, and if you'll advance that slide for me, please, Mr. Ruff. Thank you.
All right, tonight I'll be going over the financial recap for August, which is our 11th month. Our beginning fund balance at October 1st is $23 million. Our ending fund balance is $16.3 million. Our general fund balance at this time is $9.4 million. At this time, our revenue for August is $5.4 million, and our expenditures was a little over $5 million, which brings us to, let's see, our overall budgeted revenues, we're at 94%, close to 94%, and you'll see we should be at 91.67%, and our budgeted expenditures through August is 97% at this time. Our general fund reserve is 4.15 months. And our CNP is 1.2 months reserve.
Thank you, Ms. Stout. You'll also notice I highlighted with some yellow arrows here to the general fund balance, and then you see the notes at the bottom where it says general fund reserve. You see the 1 month requirement in parentheses. The number to the right, that 2.2 million, that is what our 1 month requirement is, and then to the right of that number is the 4.15 months reserve. And if you go back up into the top of the report, that's where you see the balance for the general fund. Yes, I put the arrows there because sometimes that gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
And I thought that might help bring a little clarity there. Thank you, Ms.
I like
Stout.
it. I like it. Yep. Absolutely.
Do y'all have any questions?
I don't.
Glad to see the CMP budget there. Number go up.
Yes,
It is going up.
it is. It's going. Of course, that's our first month back in school, so going positive track.
Thank you, Ms. Stout.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stout.
All right, yes, sir.
All right, the next item under consent are fundraisers. So you have a few there to take a look at. Did anyone have any questions specific to the fundraisers? Okay, we'll move into action items, the Roman numeral 5. Letter A is personnel. So what we currently have posted, you can see the current job openings. We do have an anticipated K through 6 teacher. We have an anticipated 7 through 12 teacher. The behavior interventionist that you approved the job description for at last month's board meeting is posted. We're also looking for long-term subs in history and computer science. We have after school that we're going to speak to momentarily that is posted because we want to get those contracts approved at the October board meeting. And then you see that we have CMP worker posted, data manager, and our substitutes, which now are everybody's required, all of our staff or potential staff are required to go through the Hire True portal, and then we have an instructional assistant part-time. And the reason that job is posted is because we are looking to fill, we've gotten our Title I budget allocations. Ms. Hood, also Ms. Benson have been working hard to get those ready to go, so those must be posted for the contracts that we'll be discussing momentarily. I will tell you, I have a couple of jobs that I would like to talk about. I do have those listed in the superintendent's report later because I have some data and some things with it. So if you don't mind, I would like to kind of save that discussion for just a little later if you don't mind, but those are the things that are posted. Any questions about any of those? All right, we'll move to action item B. These are the supplemental positions. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. All right, action item C, this is the additions to the 24-25 substitute list. So Ms. Anderson just had a sub workshop. So again, we're still waiting on those potential substitutes to complete, their packets and get everything to us. So hopefully we'll have some names for subs to add to be considered for your approval at the board meeting. Ms. Earl, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you tell me, I know Ms. Nicole's not here, do you know how many people came to the workshop?
I think she said there were 30 people here.
Okay,
So
that's
they are
good.
expecting several new subs added to the list.
Good, good. Thank you. I'm not sure, but I believe Mr. McDaniel, I believe you may have shown up for that workshop as well. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, action item D, contracts for Title I staff. Again, you're going to see some contracts there. Each of our Title I schools have funds that are allocated out. This is allocated based on a need, a priority need. That would be the number of students that are eligible, whose families fall in the poverty threshold. And so it is up to each school to determine how they want to spend their funds. There is a budget committee in place for that. And many of them choose to have a reading intervention teacher. This is usually a retired teacher that we can find. I will tell you that you're going to hear me say this quite a bit this evening, but we've been talking about the teacher shortage for a while, and we've been talking about how blessed we are because we don't have that shortage, but we are starting to see fewer and fewer teachers available, and so we're working through, and we will have some names for you. As a matter of fact, I believe we had this posted, and we do have those. Yes, we had those posted, and we do have. You can see we have some names there on the contract. And again, they know that those are being paid out of Title I funds. Any questions about any of those? All right, we'll move to action item E. This will be our after-school tutoring. We have after-school, looks like we have some teachers there who were willing and wanted to teach our after-school students. And then we also will have bus drivers. I think right now we're looking at potentially 2. We're still finalizing those applications coming in from parents. So we may have 1 or we may have 2 bus drivers for your approval at the board meeting once we get those numbers finalized and we've had time to determine the route and whether we need 1 or 2 routes. We'll have that finalized for you at the board meeting. Any questions about those? Okay. Action item F, this is the contract for the high school and the junior high. This is basketball gym cleaning services. This is a standard annual contract. I don't think there's any, I don't think we made any changes to that particular.
Do we need to add anything?
Yes, I do think that we want to make one slight adjustment there about duties and what duties we want to be added, so we can certainly make that adjustment. That'll be a triple fix.
On page 2, where it says includes, what the contract includes, that employee do.
Yes.
Maybe add a restocking.
yeah, that won't be a difficult task to change. Any other questions or comments about that particular contract? Okay, so action item G are lawn care service contracts. So, last spring, I believe it is, Mr. Arnold, you may have to help me with the timeline, we talked through adding the third, lawn care, contract. We talked through the budget. Mr. Arnold had the budget, and they had the funds within their budget to do this. This has proven to be, I think it's a very positive thing, because again, I don't think you get that second chance to have that first impression. We want our, we want our grounds to look maintained, and I think, Mr. Arnold, you've done a great job helping to oversee that, so we thank you. Anything you would like to add about the contract?
You'll notice, at one time, we extended, put winter months on these guys to where right now the grass necessarily isn't growing, even though I need to mow mine tomorrow, but, there's things that need to be done. The weather, we came through the other day and there were branches everywhere. And you've got, maintenance really we got a lot of projects going on, these guys can't do it, but we can extend these guys. And what I like about these guys is you're not having to hire somebody from somewhere else. You tell them once, two of them are retired gentlemen, they won't have a good work ethic, and they've got a schedule, they go do it. You don't have to look for them, they're getting things done. And you'll notice as far as just the increase of last year we had someone that we thought was going to be able to do this for us, and we lost him to about $3 more on the hour. So we had another person, but he was a former police officer, which I like to have another thread of security and everything else and familiarity around. And it's like, well, for the money, I can't justify doing it at this point. We kind of thought we had that guy. And then we ended up going with another fireman a little bit later, and he was going to take the job. He ended up not being able to take the job either. And so we ended up with Adam. Adam has been great. He's been fantastic. But he has a degree, a business degree, and he's going to be looking soon to further his career, and I wouldn't blame him. And so that extra money, if you look at, we put 30 more acres on them. We put the entire winter months, which it's going to taper off. The hours are going to taper off and they're not going to be working when things aren't growing the full gamut. Everything's going to taper off. But, as a way to try to, and of course, like I said, we put the extra 30 acres on them. We've got more months, and we'd like to be a little bit more competitive, so we're not having to go look for someone. If Adam were to find something, that can happen at any time. So I've been very pleased with them. Again, you don't have to look for them, tell them what to do. They're going to do their job. They maintain, if there's something like we have an issue, they're able to maintain their equipment, and that's things we want to build in and do it throughout the winter months, where it's, trimming bushes, spraying, whatever we need to do. That's what we want to be able to do, and again, make that first impression.
Thank you.
Is that what they'll be doing during the seasonal?
Yes, when the grass is growing, all we can do is what we're doing. But when grass is not growing, it's going to be doing all the other things, trimming hedges. People show up, first thing they see is the bushes and the flower beds. You can ask Mr. Tubbs about, his flower bed at the high school around back. We try to scramble and put straw in at the junior high. We put mulch in, and those things can be done. Mr. Amos has got a brand new flower bed, and it's going to be a good spot for us to possibly take pictures of the ribbon cutting or whatever. But we're going to have time to do those things, and these guys will be able to help maintain and do those things, and things that they're not able to do while they're cutting that grass and weed eating and those things.
Where are these 30 additional acres coming from?
That's what we took off of the janitors.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Remember, we did 83 acres, and then when we took it off the janitors, we did all the campuses up close, and so that's another 30 acres, 116 acres or so.
Off the janitors?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Any other questions?
Chemistry look great.
They really do. Very proud of the work they've done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, action item H is fleet renewal. We talked a little bit about this at our budget hearings about purchasing two new buses. You see the amounts of those purchases, and you see the funding sources from those. We're going to be able to use our ATF funds combined with fleet renewal funds. We looked to buy one special needs bus at a cost of $168,846, and one new regular 66-passenger regular bus at a cost of $148,444.50. So we have the budget for two. We hoped that we were going to have the budget for three, but we can always, if we make adjustments in the budget or the amendment or things like that, we might come back and add in another.
On this, just so you know, if you don't mind me saying.
No, go ahead.
The same memorandum, when you plug in, when I go to my computer and I plug in the bus, I got one for 2022. And Ken had done this, Mr. Holder. And we ordered one bus that was a regular 66-passenger bus. We ordered one special ed bus, which is what we did, and it was $100,000 less 2 years ago than it is now, was total. Whereas you've got $317,000, I think it was $216,000 and change.
In 2 years?
In 2 years.
2 years.
And so, also, when I went to the training at the beginning of this year, when you divide what we've got, right now, we've maxed out in year, and we've got $159,201 allocated. So we're going to be able to handle a bus, which is what that's intended to do. But after talking with Mr. Lassiter at my training for FY '25, we're going to have $12,855, which is going to be a total of $128,000 for a price of a bus. And I just told you how they went up, but we're going to get less next year. So we try to keep our buses within a 10-year, they like us to within a 10-year range, you know, to be safe. And so, but they also like you to buy buses each year so you can help your allocation stay where it needs to be. So it's a puzzle.
Now, I don't know if this is a question for you or Ms. Benson, but the special needs buses, do they have to get updated or retrofitted or anything more often than?
No, but there's a track system that we use, and we can customize it, you know, for wheelchair accessibility, for straps. At one time, there was an oxygen tank, and you know that could be a missile if it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's systems that we use to tie things down and make sure you know they're inspected. But I wouldn't know of any extra regulations, so to speak, other than you know. Well, I mean we have people check them every year. They come and we get maintenance every year. And, you know, I got to brag on the shop. You know, I might mess it up this year, but they're 13 years running with no issues. You know, so
I just didn't know if they were required to be replaced more often or.
Not necessarily. And you can take, like, if we don't have a need as much this year, or we don't have a special need requires a chair, you can put regular seats back in.
Okay.
You know,
And we have had to do that on one of our buses. We
We
had
have,
to
to make room.
take seats out
Yep.
to put in the proper lockdown system for a wheelchair.
Yep.
But then if there's a time that we don't need the wheelchair, we can take that system out and replace the regular seat back in.
I just know, like, as a parent, like just a standard car seat's got like, what, a 5-year shelf life, and then they're expired and have to be replaced. I didn't know if the special seating had to.
As far as I know, it's all about your maintenance, how you take care of it. And I appreciate, Ms. Ben the other day was talking about you pulled up next to the bus and it was real clean.
Real clean.
And
it made me wonder at the red light,
yeah.
who cleans our school buses?
And so I pulled up just yesterday and we got one of our new drivers. He has their hosing his bus now.
It looks
So
good.
these guys, they take pride in what they do. Just like their mowers. I mean, you know, you hire good people, you let them work, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Any other questions about the fleet renewal purchases? All right, we'll move to action item I. These are out-of-state travel and leave requests.
Out-of-state travel on page.
Good eye on your computer. The paperwork, the computer, aren't the same.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's okay. Hey, you know I will say the wrong letter. We don't know
That's
that.
why I was keeping up with
I
my paper.
appreciate it. But I'll just let you look over those travel leave requests, you know, if you have any
This is the same thing
questions.
they do every year.
Yes, sir. It is. Those are pretty standard.
Yeah, from Bristol, Tennessee.
Yes, sir. Any questions about those? Okay, we'll move on to action item J. So these are our system and continuous school improvement plans. We actually, I'm sorry that you don't have those uploaded. The schools are working hard to get those completed. They have until September 30th. We have until an October 15th date to get those approved, so they're working hard to get those in to Mr. Haff and Ms. Hood. As soon as they have those complete, we have a plan for them to present their plans to you at the next board meeting and also the following work session. So we'll divide those up because those take around 15 or 20 minutes to give you a good outline of how they plan to spend their funds and also how they tie their school goals to our system goals. So we'll make sure that we have those ready for your review prior to the meeting. And I also would like to say I appreciate all of the hard work. This is a collaborative effort of leadership teams within the school building. So this is not, the principal sitting there doing that. It is a collaborative effort with all of our staff. So I appreciate the input of everybody working hard to make those really meaningful so that we all understand and we're all on the same page moving forward. Okay, action item K. We have several MOUs that revolve around student services. Mr. Hodges, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, if you want to just talk about those. Do y'all have questions specific to each of those? We're happy to answer those. So that will be items K, L, and M.
Right, so yeah, basically, these three that I have on there are just some extra layers of support that our mental health team, and which we're very lucky to have, and that, the mental health part of it definitely plays a part into what we heard Ms. Rebel say, where she talked about the prevention, intervention, and response. It definitely plays a part into those first two, but the Health Connect America is just like a comprehensive range of counseling services that they specialize in different things, whether it may be outpatient mental health support, therapeutic foster care. The Bridge, they focus just on substance abuse. We've got any students who've been in a facility that's had any kind of substance abuse. And then the extended families, that is that's not even a counseling service that's going to be talking to our kids or anything. That is a program, and they came here to speak with our counselors and mental health team. This is an organization that helps kids who have family members who are currently incarcerated, and they presented the curriculum, and our counselors and mental health team have it. So if we have any students and parents that choose to want to follow that curriculum to help our students, they can do so.
Are they allowed to give any feedback on if they see a red flag in a student? Is there any layers of, security there?
Yes, they're able, if they feel like there's some kind of threat or something, obviously towards a school or whatever, they can. But then, they also, if it's something where they feel like that, the juvenile probation office needs it, they'll, give them too. So.
Were there any costs related with any of these at all?
The only one not with any of the counseling services. They're all nonprofit organizations. The extended families, it was like $50 a person to have those people come in, them hand over the curriculum to all of our mental health team, all of our counselors. They have this binder ready to go and with permission forms if anybody chooses to, to use that.
I just didn't know if I missed that or if it, okay, very good.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hodges, I appreciate that. Action item O is the Northeast Community College Agreement for Dual Credit. This is the standard agreement that we've had in place for offering dual enrollment credit for our high school students. It has been in place for 3 years, and now it is time to renew. We don't have there hasn't been any changes made. I can't speak enough about the great things that are going on with the partnership between Scottsboro High School in Northeast. We're seeing the number of students who are taking dual enrollment courses continue to rise, and they are great partners with us to talk to us about our needs and opportunities for expansion.
Do we have an approximate number of how many students participate in this?
Last I looked at it was over 400, let's say 406, don't
We
quote me
have a lot
exactly,
of
406 last year. We're number one.
400?
Can't say that enough. I know Mr. Dudley used to brag about that because we beat Fort Payne, because Fort Payne used to be the number one partner with them, but we are number one. And the safety grant has allowed a lot of kids that in the past would not have been able to participate because of cost. To participate, did I say safety? I meant the CCR grant.
Yeah.
That's allowed our kids to go free of charge.
That's
For career tech and for normal.
That's 10, 11, 12.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a lot of kids. It's a great opportunity for our kids, especially with the CTE programs that have been added. Again, they continue to expand. So that means many of the students who take those classes can come out with their credentials by taking those, which is fantastic. It's a great opportunity. All right, action item P. This is the Alabama Supercomputer Authority Agreement. Mr. Smith, you want to talk to us about the supercomputer?
Yes, this is our yearly agreement with them for them to be able to follow our E-rate for our WAN connectivity between the schools and for our internet. And basically, we will have this agreement every year with them.
Thank you. Y'all have any questions for? Okay. Action item Q. These are internship memorandums of agreement. You'll see 3 here. These are our employees who are working towards higher degrees, who we must have an MOA in place, so these are pretty standard. There is one new one that you see. It is the SDS, American College of Education. It is online. I'm perfectly fine with that. We make sure that anyone knows when they're doing an online program that any accreditation or certification they receive, that reciprocity has to go through the State Department of Education. But we certainly want to allow anybody to take whatever courses or, go through whatever college that they want. So we're happy to offer an agreement to allow them to make the choice that they need that's going to best suit their professional goals. So if you have any questions about any of those 3, I'm happy to answer. Okay. That leads us to the information portion of tonight's work session. So the first section are contracts. If you have any question about any contracts that are existing, I'm happy to answer those. Okay, item D is the updated fundraiser list. So what is attached are the fundraisers that have been approved to this point for your review. I'll move on to item C. This is the 2023-24 Student Incident Report. We are required to have this on our web page and make available to the public. And so we also wanted to take an opportunity to share those and present our data from 23-24. Mr. Hass, would you like to discuss that, please?
Yeah, of course, you've got the breakdown of all the data, put it in a spreadsheet for you and disaggregated all of it for you so you can look at specifics. Our total number of incidents did go up from the year before, but there could be many reasons for that. And I don't want to elaborate too much on that, but As far as serious incidents, those serious incidents did go down. The number of DRC, which is the Discipline Review Committee hearings that we had from the previous year, did go down quite significantly. So that's a good thing. We feel like the restorative practices that we've implemented school-wide are definitely being beneficial. I'm getting feedback from the principals that this year has been a great start when it comes to discipline issues. And so I'll let them talk more about that when they give their CIP presentations, but things are trending in the right direction.
Thank you. Do y'all have any questions for Mr. Haff? Ms. Hightower and Mr. McDaniel, we're happy to give you a copy of this too. This will be available on our website, but you're welcome to have a copy. Yes, ma'am. All right, that brings, yeah.
Can we go
yes,
back
sir.
to that contract? I thought there was something I had a question about.
On the, I'm sorry?
The contract.
Oh, yes.
The first one.
Okay.
Is that one still active?
It is not active. We need to make that inactive. My apologies for that, but that is not inactive.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. That brings us to the superintendent's report. So, Russ, if you don't mind, if you would take us there, and I'm happy to attach this presentation for your review. I do have some attachments there that will be helpful to you in a moment, but I would like to share a little bit of information with you. So, Russ, if you don't mind. The things that I'd like to talk about tonight, student enrollment, we've talked about that a couple of times. Have some personnel requests that I'd like to talk about based on our student enrollment. And then I want to talk about our goals. We've talked about these, but we have aligned, our team has aligned them with our strategic plan. So I wanted to take a minute and kind of share that because as you know, you've just approved that plan for us. We've had a lot of stakeholder input. Both internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. We've spent a lot of time working on moving our system forward for the next 5 years and how that's going to look. And so I'd like to just spend a few minutes talking about these things. So we've talked about student enrollment, and if you'll advance, yep, no, that's fine. So I wanted everybody to know where these reports came, okay? I know that's a little bit difficult to see, but I want you to know that they are actually they're on the state website for your review. Those are public knowledge to anyone. If anyone wants to go to the state website and get those, or if you need assistance finding those, I'm happy to help you. But you'll see the FY25 LEA unit breakdown. You'll see the ADM is our student enrollment for 2025, and then the attachment below it, I put 24 and 25. I'm going to have this a little easier in a little chart that's a little easier to understand, but I wanted y'all to see where I pulled those numbers from, okay? So the red arrow indicates the teacher units, and then the yellow is the ADM, okay? Thank you, Russ. Okay, so y'all stay with me for just a minute. This is nothing official. This is Amy Childress's how I interpret data and how I'm getting information to you in terms of recommendations for personnel. So we've had a lot of questions surrounding what is these extra students, what are some help that we could get with grade level support. If you remember, around the same time last year, we did this very same thing, and we identified the need for a kindergarten teacher. And so I really wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about it. I may have to come and stand right in front of you because, if you don't mind, I may run. Okay, you want to jump in my seat? All right. So let me just talk. Is your neck sore? I bet it is. Okay. So just wanted to talk to you for just a minute. So we talked about the ADM is money that's funded the 20th day after Labor Day, and that's where that number, that ADM, comes from. So if you look at Nelson, let's start there, and notice here that I only have kindergarten on here. I did not put pre-K because I'm talking about the foundation program, and as we discussed earlier, the foundation program does not fund pre-K, so I wanted to leave those numbers out, so we would be clear about that, but we'll come back and say something momentarily about those. So in 2024, based on allocation, based on our ADM, we had 164.95, okay? And we talked about those, remember it's not whole numbers because of the way that the prorated dates, all the way up to that 20th day. So in 2024, we had, based on this ADM, we had 11.58 teacher units assigned to Nelson. And then let's move forward here, and you see that 2025, which, where is this coming from? What was that? This is 184.2. And where did these numbers come from? Do y'all know? The teacher in me is coming out. I'm having to do it. So 184, the 20-day report, right? So that was last October, okay? And we grew from 164.95 to 184.20, right? And so that changed our teacher units. Are y'all with me here? From 11.58 to 12.83. We grew by 1.25. We earned 1.25 of a teacher unit at Nelson last year. So when we're looking now to this year, here's where we were allocated last October, right? We're at 1.84. Well, this is September, and notice I put in yellow here, not the 20th day report. This is not certified data. This is Amy Childress pulling this down from Power School, so this is not any official collections. This is not the 20th day, because obviously we haven't made it there yet. But if I'm predicting, how do I know whether we need a teacher? Well, we're at 180 currently, and I believe this was 2 days ago, 180, okay, and you can see we were at 184.20. So we have a slight decrease. Now, we don't know that won't change between now and the 20th day, but you can certainly see that we earned that last year. And y'all see why I asked for this kindergarten teacher last year, but we had ESSER funds. But remember, we said, hey, the state came in and they provided funding for that teacher. Well, that's why, because they could see that we earned that unit. Okay, so right now we're looking at a slight decrease, if nothing changes in terms of enrollment between now and the 20th day after Labor Day. So that brings me to Caldwell. So let's go back through the same thing. 2024, 539.60, we were allocated 37.87 units. 2025, we were at 534. We went from 37.87 to 37.54. So at Caldwell, last year, we lost 0.33. So basically 1/3 of a unit. Okay? So we look here. So sometime between that 20th day after Labor Day and right now, look at what's happened. So, Russ? What do I do? Yep. My hands are up. I did not do that. Okay. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate you. So y'all can see, Jeff Tubbs, what's the math on that? What's the difference?
23.
How many?
43.
Yeah, okay. So you see that we have an increase here. Now, this isn't the 20th day, so we could lose kids. We've lost 12 kids since school has started. So we could lose some kids, but pretty much, we're going to have an increase, right? So this is the area that I want us to focus on and talk about here shortly. But let's go through all the schools so that we're on the same page. So I'm going to stop pointing now. I think, is everybody following my chart a little bit?
I don't really understand what you're talking about.
This is where I can't say.
I'm kidding.
Wait a minute. You're breaking up. No. Are you following? You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got you.
All right. So the same thing with Collins. 519, we see we were allocated 25.88, and we see what happened. So we grew just a little bit. That changed us from 25.88 to 26.33. So here's where we are this past year, 20th day after Labor Day, and y'all can see where we are right now. Okay, 528.35, 537. That's not going to be a full teacher unit. Okay? slight increase. It will increase. Now, again, we don't know, if this past year, legislation didn't change our divisors here, but they did year before last, okay? The junior high, let's go through, 378.15. So we had 19.19 teacher units. We went from 378.15 to 353. So look what happened at the junior high. From 353 now, 20th day after Labor Day last year, 353.5, we went to 354. So a very slight increase. But if nothing changes, we don't look to lose anything. And then you can see the high school, 730.05, that put us at 40.66. We went from 730.05 to 730.5. We see the change here, 40.66 to 40.7. And again, where we were 20th day after Labor Day, 730.5 to 724. So where are we right now? Just a little bit of a decrease. Now, let's talk about these numbers in green down here and what that means. So this was the ADM for the system in 2024. Okay, and this does not include pre-K. Okay, so I put your green here because this was our system numbers 2025. Well, look at where we are right now. And again, this isn't official. This is just tracking. Okay, but we're on track. We see some growth. And about how many kids is that, Jeff? Have you done the math?
About 38.
About 38, right about that 40, okay? So where in the heck am I getting that 2454? Who did I leave out?
Pre-K.
My pre-K. So if you go add those 85 kids that don't count in foundation, there's what's reporting, but I wanted you to see the difference. And Russ, if you don't mind, if you'll advance that slide for me, I want you to see the breakdown by grade. Okay, so again, this is not anything official, this is just me putting a chart together, but I wanted you to see 2023-24. Now notice pre-K is in here. There's those 125 kids. Well, we have to take that 85 out if we're talking about foundation. We're not going to take 85 out if we're talking about the number of kids that we're serving at school every day. But pre-K is funded differently. Just ask Miss Benson and Miss Hood. Okay, so I hope that helps to make sense. So if you don't mind, Russ, would you go back to that slide where the chart we were just looking at? Yes. So I'm going to ask, I've already reached out to the State Department, just like I did last year. I reached out asking for a teacher, okay? Now I'm going to ask for more, but we haven't been confirmed anything. So right now, what I would like to do, we have an anticipated K-6 job opening. We did both anticipated because when I'm going through and doing this, I don't know how it's going to go, right? So I'm going to put anticipated because just because we post doesn't mean that we fill, but we have to have it posted to fill. So we definitely know that we are on track to receive a teacher unit, probably more, okay? But I can't say above that because, again, the formula that they use to get there, there's no way for me to tell you exactly how that's going to be. And that's why it was so difficult to try to answer that question at the budget hearing last week, because this is a very complicated process. So I hope that I've helped try to narrow down and answer a little bit. But once we know what the state is going to do, and prior to the October board meeting, they will let me know if they plan to fund. But I would feel confident asking us to fund a teacher unit at Caldwell, knowing that if we do that and use local funds, if the state does not provide funds for that, that we would not be committed to using local funds, because that we're going to earn units back through the state foundation program. So this is not something that if we decide to add, not knowing for sure if the state is going to pay yet or not, but I still feel confident that we are not going to commit ourselves to a local fund long term. So I feel comfortable saying that. The other side where I feel a little uncomfortable is, I just mentioned to you the teacher shortage. Okay, so here's the dilemma that we find ourselves in. Right now, we have 5 applicants in the portal in the anticipated K-6. 3 of those hold certification. 2 of those hold the proper certification. So that means 2 of those do not hold certification, okay? They could be working on it, right? I don't know. The question and what we're trying to work through the state with, and I know that I know there are many systems right now who have teachers who are not in field. We know this. But we want to try to get our people to be in field if we can. But our question is then going to be, do we take those students out of a classroom where the teacher is already certified and place them in a class potentially where they're not? I'm not saying that we wouldn't try to hire those people who hold those credentials, but who's to say that when we start interviewing and then get ready to make a recommendation, they're getting jobs. So if anybody's trying, to hire, this will be a quick turnaround. So between now and the October board meeting, I will keep you updated as to what the state decides, because we're nearing the fiscal year, and I know they're going to get back with me about if they're going to fund for us in advance. So before we get to the board meeting night, I will know a little bit more information and can probably provide us a little bit more guidance there. So, having said that, does anyone have any questions for me about any of that information I'm covering? Okay. So, Russ, if you don't mind, all right, so this is, Ms. Stout, do you remember this slide?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure do.
All right, well, where I'm going with that is, we talked about this at the budget hearing, and we talked about those 26.21 local non-certified support. So these are predominantly our instructional assistants, okay? And many of those fall under special education. So Ms. Benson has written grants. We know we know we're going to receive funding. So look at the amount that she's written. Now, this is, I did have some incorrect information. My wires got crossed. So when Ms. Benson sent me this money, this is the money we were funded last year, correct, Ms. Benson?
Yes, ma'am. That's our FY '24 total for sped grants.
Because funding is coming in right now, so that's my assumption that, that's our 25. It is not.
That application was just opened up for us last week.
Got it.
It's actually due for the first round of allocations on Monday.
Got it.
I have 4 submitted, and I'm working on 4 more to be submitted
Okay.
on Monday.
So we know that we're going to be, we can't guarantee that we're going to be fully funded, obviously, but we know that for a teacher unit, if we're going to pay locally, we know we're going to get some funds. Some of those will go to.
And they do look at what was previously funded and give that first consideration, and so that's on the application.
Thank you.
So it makes it more likely that we'll get it again, but grants are never promised.
Right, and they're not.
And we don't look to find out the allocation reward until November, December is when we usually find out if we actually received it.
Okay.
So it'll be a minute.
Ms. Stout, Ms. Mead, did we put some money in our budget for a teacher unit or 2 if we needed those funds?
I think we did, didn't we?
We put 2 in there, actually.
Okay. So we do have a little, we budgeted a little just for, I guess you would say, hey, an emergency.
Right,
yes.
emergency scenario.
Okay. So we budgeted for 2. Did I understand you correctly? Okay. So we have a little bit of flexibility here. That makes me feel a little more comfortable, because what I don't want to do is add to what's budgeted. So doing this will not, it will not take more money away from the general fund. Am I correct in that?
We put it in there hoping that you'll get grants or the state gives it
Correct.
money, so that gives you time to not fully trying to take all of the money from the general fund. You're hoping that lets you get started to grab grants and
Correct.
then replenish that section of that.
Okay. Thank you
Due
for
to
that.
growth.
So, I do think that's an important thing to do. We may want to, knowing that there's two there, we know the need is there for two teachers, so I don't know how y'all feel about that. But if you go back, Russ, if you don't mind, if you go back to that chart, you can see the increase is pretty significant. So, I would think two might be something we want to have a conversation about. Again, we'll go ahead and start interviewing, and we're not going to offer any positions. We're just going to interview the applicants. We'll start that process. And by we, I mean Mr. Amos and his team will start working on that process. But then we can, hopefully we'll have some information prior to the board meeting that we can share.
I got a question.
Yes.
How many kids will be leaving sixth grade? Guess. I'm not.
Well, can you
Not a whole
go,
number.
can you go to that slide, please, sir?
180. I think it's 180.
And how many's leaving fourth grade? I'm sorry.
Third?
How many's leaving kindergarten?
Well, third would be.
Third grade, that's what I meant, third grade.
You've got that big group of third graders that are gonna roll into, Collins, so that's a
Yeah.
great point. Mhm.
Yeah, how many you got rolling out of third grade, and how many you got possibly coming in from
Well, and
kindergarten?
that is a great point. So those 201 third graders will be going to fourth grade. And again, we don't know how many of those will stay or go. I assume we would lose some. But that is another great point. If you look at kindergarten, we did not retain some of those children. We're retaining some of those in first grade based on our standards and our curriculum. We feel like that's, for many of our students, if we're going to retain, we feel like first grade is a little bit better. So that brings more of those kindergartners on over. So those are great questions. Any other questions?
What's that gonna change in class size?
So typically, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it starts at 17 and 20. So that's kids almost two teacher units, and that's actually gonna be one we're gonna need to watch. As you move that classroom up, so you're at 40 kids, as they grow every year, that's gonna be one that we need to progressively watch every year as an extra teacher unit. As you watch her say her slight increase and decreases, that class is going to be one
That's
you're going to watch.
That's gonna contribute to
That's
that.
going to contribute every year, so we're going to have to forward think for that grade level right there as it continues going on. And also see, it looks like your first grade right there with 24 is a one to kind of watch as well. That could almost be a little over a teacher unit.
And I would say here, those first graders, that's gonna be some kindergartners who were moved on, okay, and I don't know how many in Ms. Ford, I'm not gonna put you on the spot and ask you to tell me off the top of your head. But then also, I'm sure there were some first graders, I know there were some first graders who were retained, who belonged in that second grade class. And we're gonna see that, because again, those constraints of the Literacy Act, we know the curriculum, so we're looking at individual students to say this curriculum is going to be the best for them to remain in first grade or kindergarten. We try to be very individualized in making those decisions. So that brings,
The two you
sorry.
anticipate would be Caldwell?
The two anticipated would be Caldwell, yes, sir.
So
One or two.
what would that change the class size to, from compared to what we already know?
But decrease each class by 2 to 3, 2 to 4, depending on fed classes, non-fed classes, just to make it above the class. But 2 to 4 students per classroom, in that grade level.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 to 4 students makes a difference.
Absolutely. I know it's been a concern,
It is.
obviously, but anything
And
else?
we have been watching this, and we get into this window, and of course, you know, you want to hire your teachers and have them all ready to go by the start of the year, but when you're bringing kids in and you're enrolling, there's really no way to know when is this going to taper off, so that's what we've been watching. So, you know, we'll look at one potential, you know, maybe two, we'll see how that goes, and then I'll report back to you if the state decides to help us with any funds as well. But that does bring me to another need at Caldwell. that I'm asking for your approval for recommendation. So I feel like this is a conversation that I've had with Mr. Amos. Because of the classroom addition and because of the addition of the gym, we really need a custodian over there to help with the extra square footage of the building. So I've given you, it's uploaded where it says superintendent's report. Rather than having this, you have what our salary schedule is for a custodian. And again, Russ, if you could go back, yes, right there.
Maybe you did the wrong one.
I'm sorry?
Maybe you did the wrong one.
I'm sorry.
I may have given you the wrong one. Will you pull it up?
Oh, it's okay.
There's two on there. I think one of them.
Well, one of them's a teacher, one of them.
One of them is the teacher. Yes, and that's fine.
Yeah, I did. I gave you something not custodian.
Oh, okay.
So,
We can fix that.
Yeah, I can fix that, yeah.
We'll fix it and put the
That was
custodian.
my bad.
Wanted you to see the custodian, salary schedule. Those do include the 2% raises there.
Yes, they
So
do.
we'll
They
just
do.
swap that out for you so you can see what the custodian cost would be. And I also wanted you to see the cost of the teacher, as well. So we put the 187-day certified teacher, from the salary schedule in there for your review as well, just so you would know. But again, that's where we would have a little bit of flexibility and funds. I can't look at you and tell you, oh, that's all going away. I don't know. It's again, like Ms. Benson said, we feel like we're going to do well because we've already been allocated this amount, but I can't tell you we're going to be funded to that level. But I can also tell you I don't see why we wouldn't receive some as well. So
Can I ask for clarification, that $590,000 did not go just to employee salary?
It didn't.
It also goes to curriculum and materials and related service providers.
There's, is there, what, about 40,000, 50,000 of that, or is there more?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
And that it also includes the gifted grant. So
Right, okay.
to be,
So you're looking at the 400 to 500 range, would you
which
say?
is also for sped, but that's all of
Yes,
that added
ma'am.
together, yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Ms. Benson. Okay, do y'all have any questions for me about that? Okay, so, Russ, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly. If you're welcome to, if you wanna come back up here, you're welcome to do that. I'm gonna get out of your space, Mr. Williams, y'all gonna be over your head. So, if you'll go to the next slide, I promise I'll be quick, but I just want to explain this so that as we're moving forward, we all understand what our strategic plan means. You have a hard copy of it in front of you. Again, this is a 5-year working document, and when you go through this is about to be on our new website, and I'm happy to provide copies to anybody who would like one. It's a public document, and it was board approved in June. So, if you go, you'll see this page, this is our main page. Just go through 3 or 4 pages. This is our main page, and this is what is driving what we do. So we have used comprehensive needs assessments to determine these are the areas of focus for us as we move through with our goals and our plans for the next 5 years. And you see the pillars is what they're called, and those are indicators. And just so you know, without insulting anyone's intelligence, so if you look at the top line there, you see the number 1. So if we go over from governance, operations, and facilities, capital improvements, building maintenance, that would be labeled in your packet 1.1. So if you're looking at that little map, and you see governance, operations, and facilities, you should have 1. And then you're going to see 4 sub-indicators to support that pillar. And these subs outline what we're going to do for governance, operations, and facilities. Same thing with academics. We broke academics in 4 parts. And when I say we, I mean we had district leadership who worked on each of these pillars. But it's point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4 for every number, okay? And that's going to be important for you to understand here in just a minute. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but you can certainly take this, and if you want to know everything you want to know about 2.2, you can find right here in your packet, you can go to 2.2, you can go to 1.1, you can go to 4.3, and you can read what the committee decided was going to be our driving vision throughout. So, but what we've done is every goal that we have this year is tied to this strategic plan. So when we're talking about spending any money, when we're talking about coming to the table and asking for your board vote, we're also going to be able to tell you, here's our goals. Our goals have come from our identified multi-tiered systems of support because we are an MTSS district, but they're going to be tied and aligned with our strategic plan. And so when anything comes in front of us to approve, if it's not there, we don't need to be buying. We need to be asking, why have we kind of gotten lost from where we're going? So if you don't mind to advance for us, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through this. I'm happy to share this. Don't have any problem with anyone looking at it. But if you'll see, here's our first goal, academic growth and achievement. Well, you're not going to find goal 1 right here, but you're going to find it in those pillars. And I think I remember it's 2.2. Don't ask me how I know that, but I've looked at this a time or 10. But going through the goal, I underlined words. We've kind of underlined words that made us say, what stands out to us? What do we need to do? And those underlined words help us to find those indicators. And so you can see for goal 1, here's our strategic plan indicators. Everything tied in to that goal is right there. So you could go through here, go find 1.1, find out how we're going to pay for this, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. And then the right side of that slide, I just wanted to highlight some accomplishments and achievements that we've already attained, but we certainly, we don't want to be complacent. And I'm not going to read every one of these bullets. By no means am I going to do that late and everybody's ready to go home. But I want to point out some of our accolades and achievements and accomplishments because this has taken a lot of hard work from a hard-working group of faculty and staff. We have an overall system, 87B, on our fall state report card. That has been hard to maintain. We're almost back. We're working to grow from COVID. So we have maintained that B average. We had 2 schools that went to an overall A status. Very hard. We want to be an overall A district, and we understand the commitment on everybody's part it's going to take to get us there. The Literacy Act, 96% of all of our 3rd graders this year demonstrated proficiency on the spring ACAP. Again, we did not retain any 3rd graders based on the provisions written within the Act itself. We're seeing gains in our state assessments. This is something that Mr. Hass is going to talk to you about when he does the system report, and then you're going to see each of the schools talk about specific goals for their schools and how they're going to meet this meet this goal, So let's move on to 2. We've done the same thing here. College, career, and workforce ready. We've tied these in. You can see the strategic plan indicators. Looking at achievements and accomplishments, $200,000 grant to create 2 new STEM labs, one being at Collins and one being at the junior high. We added a STEM teacher at Collins. We have a CTE instructional coach added half of the day to assist K-6 with integration of our career tech standards into core academic instruction for elementary students, so that hopefully we're doing better with integrating those STEM hands-on inquiry-based learning approaches for our students so that they really start to think about those career pathways and think about problem solving that's going to increase student achievement. We Build It Better, that's been in 712, now we're going into 1.6. It's been embedded in Project Lead the Way, but now it's called this program in 1 through 6. We are meeting college and career criteria. Again, $768,000 in grants for career tech since 2022. Lots of growth. Again, the DevCom partnership is bringing advanced manufacturing, precision manufacturing, lots of great options to students. So really proud of what we're doing in college, career, and workforce ready goals. Goal 3, Safe and supportive learning. So this really ties into what we're doing with school safety. You can see the strategic plan indicators here. Before our students can learn, they have to feel safe at school. So do our faculty and our staff. We're very proud of the things that have been accomplished within this area. We're super proud of the safe and supportive environment at Caldwell. There's a new classroom addition, new auxiliary gym. Our operating fund balance in the general reserve from fiscal year 18 was 1.67 months to 4.56 in fiscal year 24. Again, we're talking about the grants, SROs in every school, nurses in every school. You can see all of our student support staff that we have, separate alternative education programs, again, drilling down to identify needs of individual students, really thinking outside of the box in terms of those restorative practices that we know are going to help work in the ways that Officer Revels described to us tonight. We've done a lot of collaboration with local law enforcement, emergency services, annual training, site walkthroughs, system and school safety upgrades, doors, window tint, fencing, two-way radios, video and audio intercom at main entrances, window signage for first responders. 95% of our staff are ServSafe certified. This is our CMP staff. CMP health ratings, y'all seen that, 95 or higher consistently, and then we became a CEP district so that all students were able to eat free. We have 19 of 23 buses equipped with air conditioning, provision, camera systems, keyless entry for staff, visitor management systems. We've done exterior door upgrades. Again, just lots of great things going on in our safe and supportive learning environment. And then finally, goal 4, communication. This is definitely an area of focus because we know that communication is going to lead to that safe learning environment that we're talking about. So we have, again, we've tied that to our strategic plan indicators. You can see accomplishments and achievements. Russ, I'm not sure what all kinds of switches we've upgraded at schools, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the switches that I know and grew up to understand what those are. But switches upgraded at all of our schools, 10 gig fiber installed in schools, upgraded servers, power school enrollment. Again, we're doing online enrollment. Now, you know, this year we still had some parents go, well, why the paper? Because it was hard to cut the paper loose. But next year, guess what we're going to do? We're going to cut that paper loose. It's going to be completely online. I know we can do it. Parent Square, the communication has been great. At Nelson the other morning, when we had to close unexpectedly for the water line, we had one kindergarten student picked up off the bus route and brought to Caldwell. So we go back and we look, they're using Parent Square. We know we put things on the internet as well as far as our social media platforms, but we can see the number of parents who are connecting. So that is great. It's more and more every day, and we're going to continue to see that. The calendar of events on the system is great. Again, we're recording our work session right now. We hope to have that going within 24 hours. Board meeting's going to be recorded as well. We're going to get that linked and send it out. We started yesterday or day before. I'm not sure when we got those links on social media. Do we send those out yesterday? Terry had to leave, and I'm not sure if she put them on social media on Wednesday.
The agenda was out there yesterday.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Thank you. So we're trying to do that, so we're showing people, here's what we're talking about at these meetings, and we want to make sure that we are transparent in the things that we're doing. So lots going on, a lot of great things. Again, it's a great staff. I can't say enough great things about the work that everybody's doing. And I'm excited to see our data put into what our goals are. So those will be great presentations. So I think that brings us to the very end. And as I said, I'll go back and put my presentation in for you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate that. The last thing for me is we need to determine our whole board training date. Starla reminded me that we actually decided on one earlier this year. So What was it, sir?
October 17th.
October 17th is, now, and this is only, I haven't reached out to try to secure whole board training because I'm not sure what topic it's going to be, so I don't know that we'll be able to get that date, but does that date still work with everybody?
What is it?
Thursday.
It is a Thursday evening. Is that good with everyone? I do remember that.
Yeah.
We do have a work session that evening, so if y'all wanted to consider another day, I mean, we can't. And again, I can't guarantee that they're gonna be able to come this day. So if y'all wanted to give me another, maybe another option or two in terms of dates, so I'd have a little bit of wiggle room.
Maybe the week after.
The week after? No? This is where it always gets fun.
Ms. Highlighter, you come up with a date.
The 21st, October 21st.
Okay, a Monday evening?
That's my grocery shopping day.
I get my hair done.
I told y'all, this is where it gets fun.
Yes, I do the 21st.
Okay, is everyone else open to that?
Well,
No.
That's why we arguing with Cheyenne about it.
23rd, it's a Wednesday.
23rd.
Is that day good with everybody?
What time?
Whatever time y'all tell me you want.
What's the earliest? You could do. No.
I got 5 o'clock, but you got something on Wednesday though, right?
I generally have something on Wednesday,
Yeah.
but, hey,
No,
So we need to go to another night?
I got things to do.
About Monday the, all right, well, how about?
Oh, 29th.
How about the 19th, or the 18th, or the 16th? 29th.
What about the 29th?
29th.
It's just a Thursday, I'm already here.
Halloween.
Yeah, why don't we just do it, if they can do it the 17th, we'll just do it while we're here.
We'll try to do that one. Give me one other date option and then we'll go from, and then I'll
29th.
stop. 29th on a Tuesday evening? What time would y'all like?
Anytime after 4:30.
5.
Anytime after 5:30.
Okay, all right. Now, topics. Would y'all still like to look over that and let me know, or are you ready to,
I think we need to do policy and procedures.
okay? That's kind of the boardsmanship, that 101, I sent a link out with the training options. First of all, I hope you were able to open it, because I worked for us, you'd be proud. It's a link.
You did it.
I did, all by myself.
She's learning.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. Okay? So if y'all want to look and let me know, the only thing about it is when you call, they want to know what you're doing, so that, because it's specific to the training they get. So it's up to you.
Mine got shot down last year. Selected a new superintendent, a great problem.
Either that or, they have one on safety or anything. No,
We talked to, now Ms. Ramble says she's willing to do something and
Yeah.
partner with the state if y'all
Yeah.
want me to try to do that and
No,
get that approved. I'm sure that wouldn't be difficult.
maybe, CSFO, superintendent evaluations or something. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, y'all come up with a
Whatever
date.
y'all want.
Help me out here.
I'm good with that. I'll just learn something.
Tell me what you want me to do. Dr. Spears?
Dr. Spears?
whatever the consensus is, that's fine.
So you want me to try to, you want me to try to do a school safety one that is custom? No?
You talking about the lady that was here?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
She mentioned she would be happy to
Could
do
be a lot
it.
of sub-challenges.
I mean, we don't have to go that route, but we can. It'll have to be written and approved. So CSFO superintendent evaluation, we could do the boardsmanship, or, you know, there's several options.
Does everybody want to go in there and look and see what she?
Y'all wanna look?
Yeah, let's just do that.
Okay, y'all just send me what your choices are, and we'll go from there. Okay, and that's it for me. I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Board comments. Dr. Spears,
I don't have to.
Mr. Woodley?
I apologize for the language I used on my statement earlier. I didn't mean to say that. Sometimes my mouth speaks before my brain thinks. I said exactly how I feel, and I just apologize for the language I used. And also, we're talking about the lawn here. I don't know that I've ever seen our campuses look as good as right now. So kudos to your guys. And I'm sorry I didn't see a nice shiny bus, but that's awesome. But the guys they're doing that. That goes a long way. I mean, it really does.
Thank you. Mr. Dyer?
Mr. Hass, is that, run that page about the alumni active military? Will you explain that a little bit? I was just gonna speak on it.
Miss Summers is the one that's putting that together. She's our career coach at the high school. I'm sorry, you caught me. It's long. Basically, what she's doing is sending out just a flyer to, it's actually being posted on Facebook on our Career Tech page, which if you don't follow, please do. Lots of great things are on there. But basically, she's asking for former alumni to kind of update on, where they're at in their life and their career as alumni of Scottsboro. I don't think it's specifically just for former military, but obviously, welcome. But we've had, I think, a couple so far of different types of careers.
Well, the one I saw, it specifically said there's a Google form for active or retired military alumni, so I was just wanting to get it out to media just so.
You can find, again, all of our stuff on Scottsboro City Schools Career and Technical Education page. Lots of good stuff on there. I'm not the only one that posts, so we put a lot of good things out there about what's going on with our career tech. Thank you for acknowledging.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Arnold's crew.
Sure.
I know they worked long and hard on fixing that water line.
They did, they really did.
Drop a plate a little bit.
I know y'all are all out there, so I appreciate that. And Mr. Tubbs, you had a couple students that were semi-finalists for National Merit.
Yeah, I plan to have them recognized at the next board meeting if that's.
Awesome.
That's acceptable. We're not talking about it yet, but that's.
But I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome. It is.
Great.
That's all I have.
Ms. Bennett?
I would like to say thank you to the class of 1974. They made a recent donation, and they wanted it to go towards kind of like an improvement thing at the high school. And so the high school Facebook page shared it this afternoon, or it was on one of the social media platforms, the new home of the Wildcats over at Hambrick Hall. It looks really nice. And it's just really nice when the stakeholders, want to give back. And then the other thing I was going to mention is I won't probably see any of you a lot next week because you'll all be real busy with homecoming. So homecoming's a special time, and it's going to be busy, and with dress-up days and fun traditions and float building and all the other stuff. So I'm excited about being a tiny part of all that again this year. And then on Monday night, is it Monday night?
Monday night.
We are going to Huntsville to do some training on artificial intelligence. And so hopefully we'll be able to bring back some information on things that we learned there to share with you. That's it. That's all I have.
I ditto what they said. Thanks, everybody. Homecoming coming up. Tell those kids, please be safe.
Yeah.
You don't want no accidents. Thank y'all for everything you did.
Thank you. I just, again, thank you for the great comments and feedback on my evaluation. Again, I continue to be grateful for the opportunity. I just want to say thank you to everybody in this room and all of our staff who is not here. As Officer Rebels talked about over 20-plus years, this has probably been one, we went through COVID, and that was a difficult time, and coming back from COVID has been one of the biggest challenges professionally for me, but working through what we're working through right now, it takes its toll on our faculty and staff, and so no matter what position that you're in, it is difficult every day. So, you know, let's make sure that we let them know how much we appreciate them, because it's hard every day being under the spotlight and the scrutiny of what we're doing, and we are committed to doing the right things for our students. So I just appreciate what everybody does and how much everybody goes above and beyond, and again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.